Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Tuesday. So I want to tell you a little story about a fish I caught last week in the tournament that I was fishing on Gunnersville. So I pitched my bait. I was punching 1.5 ounce weight with my Gambler Stinger that I'm a big fan of. And I flipped into this mat, and it was a deep coontail mat that was in like 7 feet of water. So it took a while for that bait to get down to the bottom. And then as soon as it hit the bottom, bam, I get a bite. And the fish must have swam a little bit towards me because when I set the hook, I was just pulling into all that grass and the fish didn't have the bait. So I pitched this in there, Gambler Stinger, and when I get my bait back, it's like that. So the fish was hanging on to the appendages there on the bottom. So this is what it looked like when it came back. Well, I didn't have time to go in my box and get another bait. So I just rigged that hook back in there, pitched right back in there, 3-pounder grabbed it, set the hook, got him out. I want to tell you some stuff I've heard about this, and I don't know if you've watched any of Mikey Ball's videos recently, where he's been punching like a Ned rig style bait. I think he puts that's cut down Cinco on like everything, or cut down Gambler Ace, or whatever it is he uses. But here's a funny way that I think this could be explained. So there are some baits that are like this nowadays. You see the Bluegill, that there's really just nothing to it. It's just a flat piece of plastic. Berkeley, a long time ago, did a study on what was the ultimate crawfish bait. So they did all these different tests in their tanks with real bass, giving them different crawfish. What was the one that would get their attention, or what was the one that the bass would eat the most? And what they figured out was a crawfish with no pinchers at all was the one that the bass ate the majority of the time, or more than any of the other options that they gave. Now, the downside of that was they knew that there's no way they could ever sell this to the fishermen. Fishermen need something that flaps and kicks and has cool colors. And if they just gave them a bait that had no pinchers on it, it probably wouldn't do real well. So they didn't ever take it to market. They didn't sell that bait. But I think nowadays we're figuring out that you don't always need a ton of action. You don't always need pinchers and all these different things. And I will say there are some times where I do think that the pinchers or the kicking action is very important. But most of the time when I'm flipping a bait like a stinger, I'm imitating a bluegill. With 1.5 ounce weight on this, it's not sitting there and just moving like a defensive crawfish. It's shooting to the bottom. So it looks like a bluegill's tail fluttering by them. So whenever I'm using a bait like this, I think most people would look at that and say, oh yeah, those are the pinchers, it's a crawfish. I'm always imitating bluegill with this. And the same thing goes when I go to my rage craws. Yeah, just sitting stationary, that looks like a crawfish, but that's never what I'm using this bait for. Unless I'm bed fishing, but when I'm just flipping this, it's typically got a 1/2 ounce to at least like a 3/8 ounce weight on it, and it's moving fast. It looks like a fish swimming by, not so much a crawfish. Now, if I'm bed fishing, like I just said, I think there's times when you want that bait to be kind of in their face and you can just leave it there and shake it. But that's typically the only time that's how I'm fishing this bait. Any of these baits with a lot of appendages, a lot of moving, kicking action, I'm swimming them, I'm flipping them with a little heavier weight, and I'm moving them, trying to find those more aggressive bass. Because typically in a competition, you want to find the ones that are easiest to catch. Finding bass is great, and that's what you have to do most of the time. Just find anything that you can locate out there, but you want to find the easiest ones to catch. And typically with something that's kicking and moving, it's real vibrant. If they're not going to bite that in a couple of days, you can finesse them and fish for them, slow down and all that. But just to go find areas where you think you should spend your next couple of days, I always like something moving, kicking, going fast. Then you can come back with your Bluegills or your Cincos and, slow way down and really give it the time and don't rush through there. But whenever I'm looking for bass, it's something kicking and moving. I'm moving fast. I'm fishing quick. I'm covering a lot of water, and I'm not spending a whole lot of time trying to make that perfect cast. It's more let's catch the easy ones. Let's find the ones that are going to be catchable in a few days. So I just wanted to share that because I think a lot of people think, well, if I don't have the kickers, I'm not going to catch one. I better go in my box and spend 30 seconds to get a new bait. Just rig that back up, stick that hook in there, drop it on them. It's a reaction strike, and you're gonna get those bites a lot of times. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.